Frank The Crank Camacho. Welcome to MMA Life TV, mate.
What's up, Kevin, man? Thank you guys for
No
having me.
worries, man. You have the distinction of being, the first UFC fighter on our show. So for that, I'm very thankful.
Yeah, dude,
We
freaking
made it.
honored, man. Honored. I'm gonna remember this, dude. When you're like up there with Ariel Helwani,
Hell,
I'm like,
Wani.
hey,
That's
dude,
it, man. That's the way. That's the way.
Helwani.
Appreciate it, mate. So tell me, it's Saturday here in Sydney and it's Saturday in Guam. What do weekends look like for the UFC fighter Frank the Crank?
So I just finished Saturdays. The weekend is, I guess, technically Saturday,
Yep.
right? So I on Saturdays I have only one session, and it's usually a strength and
Yep.
conditioning session. And then afterwards, man, I'm a family man. So after I just come home and then kind of just usually you hear like my boys fighting and crying. But since I'm outside, this is what you're
Nice,
getting.
man. That looks beautiful. Again, that reminds me of home.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mate, tell me this. How does a boy from the islands of Guam even fall into MMA as a career and then nonetheless go to the UFC? Like, how did that even happen?
So kind of crazy, right? Like growing up in the islands, for some reason, it's like a not like a fight. Man, you're gonna grow up
Yep.
fighting. I mean, I guess unfortunately or fortunately, I've never
Yep.
gotten to a show. It's just within our blood. I don't know what it is,
Yep.
but we are just strategically, or we're very close to like Japan,
Yep.
to big bodies of land in Asia. Hawaii's right there. So I mean, yeah, even though we're in the middle of the ocean, people from Japan would come over to Guam and Saipan and the Mariana Islands to
Yep.
vacation. So we were exposed. I remember in Saipan, like Kazuo Misaki, man, multiple time Pride fighter. He would always make trips to
You're right.
Saipan, and yeah, and then so they would vacation. They would vacation in the islands. Another thing too is I don't know what it is, but when something picks up here in the islands, it kind of like spreads like wildfire, especially if it's very popular, and that's kind of
Yep.
how MMA started. Super Brawl came back in the late '90s, and since then, local promoters came in with Fury and PXC and Jungle Rules at the time, and it was the start of mixed martial arts. So it's once something like that starts here in the islands, you got a very small community.
Of
Everyone tries
course.
to get into it, and the fighting cultures is within us. You know what I mean? So it just kind of took off, and I'm probably like second, third generation of fighters.
Cool. That makes sense. And how many major gyms are there in Guam? Like, did you have like big gyms over there, or how does it work?
So it seems like MMA gyms have tend to be
Yep.
lessen, I guess. It's just like the core MMA gyms that are kind of up. Man, not even at that. I think it's only like two real MMA gyms. There's Steel Athletics, there's Spike 22, and then just all these other little ones. But if anything, jiu-jitsu is
Yep.
is huge. Jiu-jitsu, there's so many jiu-jitsu academies per capita, such a small community.
Absolutely.
Like 10 maybe, less
Yep.
than, or right under 10, competitive jiu-jitsu
Yep.
academies.
And you've often been quoted as talking about the island fighting spirit. Like, what does this mean to you, and what makes you think like makes island fighters so unique?
you know that's a very good question, bro. Like if there's anything that I would like pride myself in is I'm really in I'm really fascinated with our culture.
Mm.
Back in the day when the Spanish came and colonized the islands. On Magellan's journey around the world. When he circumnavigated the
Yep.
Earth. Uh, uh, just so fascinated with our culture, and I just feel like I don't know, I don't want to get too like in depth with with the whole spiritual side or whatever, but I just feel like if I was born back in the day, back in like 2,000-3,000 years ago, I
You'd
would
be
be
a
a
warrior.
warrior.
That's it. You
And
resonate with that. Yep.
yeah, I would be that guy, like helping fight and defend like the land and our islands, and I truly feel that, you know, and I truly believe that, and I truly feel that in my heart. And I mean, now 2020, you know, I'm just a different, you know, just a different time, different age, but I fight and I represent and I show my heart every time that I step in the cage, and you're just very fortunate that the world gets to see that.
I think that's really very apparent when you fight, like that passion that comes out, and you only got to think about like all the smaller island nations, like the All Blacks when they do their haka. Fiji, we have our version of that as well. Like obviously every nationality has a version of fighters, but it really is ingrained in that island sort of heritage. It really is seen as a real worthy career, if that kind of made sense.
Yeah. So I always wonder about that. You know, like is it because we're so small? You know, we're trying to prove big things, or is it because we're so small, we're so territorial? You know, with the limited resources that we've had, that it's kind of like ingrained in our culture and in our society. You know, so I always wonder these things, man. But it's let's just say that I get in touch with it and I feel it, and I definitely feel that it's something there every time I fight, you know, and it's not just this thing where I'm just trying to feel like I'm tougher, but yeah, you see it with all the other islanders, you know, like yeah, we're separated, you know, we're all little dots within the ocean, but man, we're Polynesia, we're Micronesia, we're Melanesia, we're Oceania, you know, we're one, you know, like if you're African, you're from Africa, you know what I mean? But if you're an island, if you're a Pacific Islander, man, you encompass this whole region that is a big family, that is, and I'm getting goosebumps just even talking about it, but I'm just very passionate about stuff like that, you know, and you know, I could go in depth into like, you know, trying to keep everyone segregated and separated, you know, and you know, like remember, really, we are one family, one island nation.
No, I feel you. That definitely makes sense. Coming into the UFC, like there's levels to games, right? There's levels to everything. What do you think was the biggest adjustment that you had to make? Like just broadly talking about the fight game.
Dude, you know, it's so freaking crazy that you just mentioned this. Is I just messaged my manager about this guy that's looking for a management team, but you really need a good. I mean, you could be the best, man. You could be you could be the best fighter out there. You could be winning by knockout or whatever. Yeah, it's definitely gonna help. But man, you need a good management team, bro. That's what took me from fighting in the local shows to making the breakthrough and fighting and making my debut in the UFC in Singapore on a last minute notice. And I owe a lot to that to Iridium Sports Agency. You know, Jason House, man, my manager.
So how did you end up meeting Jason House? Like how did that relationship come about?
So funny, man. His partner. I'm like to call him silent partner because you know he's just kind of behind the scenes scoping it out and you know, doing his thing. His name is Jeremy. Dude, Jeremy was like was hounding on my ass, dude, for like a year, 2 years. You know, like always messaging me on Facebook, like, hey Frank, you know, dude, da 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 da, like, you know, we're so interested in signing you, and you know, and me, right? I'm like, man,
who is this guy?
What the hell, dude? I don't need no manager. Like I just, like, who's this guy? Like I'm, like I just, man, all I need to do is fight, win, and show, and the UFC will pick me up. You know, like I will make it to the UFC. I'll make it to, you know, like that was my plan all along. You know, and I years went by and it just never did. So I was just kind of like, okay, you know what? Let me just do this. So I met with Jason. I met with the team, and I was like, you know what? I've been doing I've been doing this for so long. Let me change it up, because if I don't, I'm gonna continue to get the same
Yep.
results. You know, and it was one of the best decisions that
Of
I ever
course.
made. And that is like one of aside from winning, right, man, you got to go out there, you got to be a beast, you got to be
Yep.
an entertainer, you know, you got to go out there, you entertain the crowd, you got to entertain, you have to put on good fights, you have to finish fights, you know, you can't be a decision guy and expect and to be signed as the newest hottest thing in the UFC, you know. No, man, you got to go in there, you got
Yep.
to win fights. But aside from that, like, you know, my advice to a lot of new fighters coming up is having the right guidance and having you yeah, it's man, it's just really who you know, and making those connections and building that network is key.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you've touched on it to a degree, but in your career in the UFC so far, you've had a lot of fight of the night bonuses. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's my style. I think it's my style, you know, and it's and then also too, kind of like it was the first part, like my first contract with the UFC. It was kind of like, uh, no man, it's my thing, dude. Like, I guess if you look at early on in my career, man, a lot of first round
Yep.
finishes, you know, a lot of first round finishes. Man, like, dude, I think my first 15 fights or I don't know, it was a lot. It was a lot of first round finish, and you know, maybe it was it was it was a cool thing. It was a good thing, but you know, it's probably one of those. How do you say that? Like, it was.
It probably didn't prepare you for tougher wars in the future, right? Yeah, yeah,
For sure, for sure, for sure. It was yeah, like it didn't prepare me, and it was kind of like I was getting away with this. I was getting away with this style when really at the level in the UFC, man, you can't just hold your breath and swing for 5 minutes
you can't.
anymore. You know what I mean? No, man. Everyone is tough. Everyone's fast. Everyone's technical. So now it's like, well, you know, you got to bring this thing to the game. Like, how do you? This is how you beat guys now. You know?
You picked it straight off the. Yeah,
And
you're right.
yeah, so now, you know, I'm still making the adjustments. You know, I switch. I'm doing my fight camps stateside, and it's kind of like, okay, now I'm like, I know how to fight, but now Coach Oyama and Team Oyama, they're Coach Oyama is kind of teaching me the
Yep.
way of the fight. You know, dude, right now, just throw me in the ring, tell me to fight this guy. Yo, I will go balls to the wall, and I'll try to knock him out. You know, I'll try to finish him. I'll do everything I can. But you know, like now, Colin Oyama is kind of like showing me the way of how to do that with my style and my physical attributes. You know, so it's kind of crazy, bro. I've been in the game for so long, and I still feel like a freaking infant. It's very humbling, and it's just one of those things that makes me appreciate martial arts even more. You know.
You picked it. It's actually an art, right? So an art means that every day, if you come with the view that you have a blank canvas and you're adding layers to it, that's really the way to look at it, right?
100%.
You picked it really well in that the hardest thing you can do is what got you to the dance was you and your fighting style. So obviously it's really entertaining. People love it, and people know when you're putting out your heart and soul out there, and it's manifested in these fight of the night bonuses, right? But when you go into different levels, you've got to integrate this cerebral bit there, and sometimes it's like two different personalities that you have. Do you pull the trigger, or do you hold back and be a little bit more? So there's this constant tension that you're facing as a fighter, right?
Yes, 100%. You're right on the spot. You know, and I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to find that balance. So crazy. You pointed that out. I went out. I did my first camp with Oyama, and fought Nick Hine. You clearly see a different type
Threw a
of
lot
fighter.
of kicks. Where was that? Where's that
Bro,
been?
I threw, dude, yeah, dude, so check this out. I've, you know, so like, funny story, right? When I first went out to train at Oyama's, I was training and we're drilling and doing all the kickboxing drills to takedowns to everything. And one of the guys came up to me and he was like, "Yo, Frank, what the hell is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Dude, like, nothing." You know what I mean? He's like, "Dude, the way you train is
Different.
so different from the way
Yep.
you fight." You know, like I'm such a like when I go train, bro, like Kev, I would do one combination whole 90 minutes, dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm very I like to I try to become the best, become train like the best martial artist that I can. Apparently, in my last few fights, I've been fighting like a fighter, like a freaking brawler. You know, I have kicks, I have elbows, I have good jiu-jitsu, I have decent wrestling, I have judo. You know, and I train this way, but I like the application to the doing it to the fight is a challenge right now. You know, so if you notice in the fight with Nick Hine, Oyama's like, hey, Frank, we're not brawling. Hey, what we're gonna do is we're gonna jab, we're gonna level change, and we're gonna blast this kick, dude. And you see, I got the finish in the second round, my first finish in the UFC, you know, and I didn't take any damage. Like damn, that was freaking badass. So finding, you know, back to the point of finding balance. Benil Darush, going into the fight with Benil Darush, I'm so fascinated with how patient I was with Nick Hine.
You were too patient with Darush, right?
I need
to a degree.
Yeah, you know, but you know, like so I let's just say with the Darush fight, you know, looking back at it now, I needed more crank than anything else. You know, so now on the whole reflection side of being a martial artist, it's kind of like, you know what, man, next time, you know, my next fight, I just gotta go in there and fight my fight and fight the way fight the way and the style that's gotten me to the UFC, but trust in Coach Colin Oyama and the team's drilling of defense that we've been working on for the past few months. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So, but don't take away from my strengths. Just build on my strengths. You know. So that's I'm very. I mean, it was such a bummer my performance with Benil. But it was a blessing in disguise, man, and I just can't wait for the next one. Honestly, like no injuries after that fight, and it's a good wake up call for what's in store for this freaking next guy, dude.
We'll speak to potentially who that next guy is, but I think just to harken to your point, mate, like growth is not actually linear, right? And momentum sometimes is not linear. So by a normal virtue, you'd say that momentum means winning fights, but I really think with Nick Hine, you flip the switch, and I think with the Darush, it's like this. In mixed martial arts, winning and losing is this. It's a fraction there. You engage too early, you leave it too late. You know what I mean? Like it's just there. But mate, I think you're there. I think you're there. But speaking of the next fight, do you have any indication of who that's going to be?
No, man. I was hoping to have the news, you know, before we got on this podcast. I just messaged my manager. He hasn't, well, that's because of the time difference, you know. But yeah, no news yet, and nothing that I can officially announce yet, you know, till I get everything signed. But we're trying to get something like in April. Okay. You know,
that makes sense. And
so look for a return around April time.
And when it comes to finding like a dance partner in terms of a fight, how much of input do you actually have there, or do you clearly leave that with, you know, Jason and the team?
Say one more time.
When it comes to finding your next fight and, you know, a dance partner in that particular regard, do you feel like do you have a lot of input there, or is it purely left with those guys?
You know, honestly, I think also too at the level of the UFC where I'm at, I kind of really have no real say. You know, to make proper call outs. I mean, I guess I could get fans excited, you know, to an extent about trying to fight like Lando Veneta, you know, like people want to see that, you know what I mean? Or like I would love to fight like a Yancy Medeiros, you know, fight. Or like man, or Demir Hadzovic, like, you know, like there's a lot of guys that would have loved to fight, and I feel like would be great fights. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I feel like I'm not at a stage where I'm like a Tony Ferguson, Connor, or whatever, you know, where you can call fight, or like a Nate Diaz, or you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just kind of there, just building my fights, and then also too the adjustments that we made in my career is. Now I'm just kind of trusting in everyone in the team. Like, fuck, do your shit, bro. You know what I mean? Like you need me to train. I'm gonna fucking train and do my shit. Okay, coach. I mean, I trust in the matchup that you and Jason pick and whatever, or have me fight. Like, you have me doing these drills. Yo, I'm just gonna do whatever you like, man. Ian from Lockhart and Leith. You just need me to eat this. You need eat that during your fight camp. Okay, I'll fucking do that. You know what I mean? Like, Jason, you just do your job. Coach, you do your job. I'm gonna do my job. Ian, you do your job.
Trust
You
the
know,
process.
really just
Yep.
trusting the process. And yeah, like, everyone can say trust the process, right? But man, I'm really living it, and I'm seeing the results of
You
really
need
trusting
to
that,
commit.
and
Yep.
trusting the team.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Commit, yeah, fully. And then, like you said, like, fully committing. But even that, like fully committing and not even stressing about, like, I'm just so fortunate and so blessed to have a great team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mate, I'm assuming you're a fan of the sport as well. Did you watch the 247 UFC 247 last week? So Jones,
Yes.
Reyes, who do you think won that one?
I used to be the you gotta beat
Yep.
the champ to be the champ. But man, it's like, well, first off, the judges were fucking crazy, dude. Yeah, I guess I always used to, I'm guilty of this too, like, never leave it to the judges. But man, at the end of the day, dude, this is our livelihood, like, dude, there was a clip on Reddit that Joe Rogan was saying, like, oh man, look at this judge, he's not even watching the fight, and it was like 30 seconds had passed. Like, yo, like,
Of
so much could have
course.
happened in 30
Yep.
seconds, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, so I had Reyes winning.
Yep.
At least a draw, at the least
Yeah.
a draw.
Yeah. It's mind-boggling, and like sometimes you can take it like as complicated as you want, but like, yeah, he won 1, 2, 3 razor edge. It's very hard. I'm just thinking that when you see fights like that, and you're right, like Dana said it every time, but like, don't leave it in the hands of the judges. But you got to know that at that level, you can't expect to finish everyone, right? Like, that's just not how life is. But what you need to expect is consistency in how you're judged. And when you see results like that, does it play in the back of your mind? Like, does it influence the way that you fight? And that, man, I really need to crank it. I really need to go for a finish because I don't necessarily. I mean, because you have been part of a lot of decisions that have gone down the wire, right? Does that actually play an active thought in your head?
No, not so much, because I feel like, because of my style, like, I'm always constantly trying to finish
Yep.
guys. Like, you could clearly see it, like, with like with Damian Brown or with Drew Dober, when I fought
Yep.
Drew Dober, like, man, I was gassed, dude, in the third, but I was like, you know what, man, I don't want to go to the judges. I need to finish this guy. You know what I mean?
You're giving your best Korean zombie impersonation there.
Yeah. dude, I was like, dude,
Let's go.
let's go. Like, man, I don't want, but it sucks that the culture of the game is like that, where we have to worry about the judges. Like, it's our livelihood. You know what I mean? Like, their incompetency can really determine whether we get the second paycheck or not.
Course. Yep.
That's gonna feed our family or not. And that's the reality of it, but that's the seriousness of it. So I hope somehow, some way, they figure out a solution.
At the very least, you'd think that it makes sense to have judges that actually have fought in the UFC, right? Like, they're doing that on ESPN with commentators. Why wouldn't you do it with actual judges in fights, right? Like, it just makes all the world of sense.
Oh man, for sure, dude, for sure. Like, imagine, like I really love having referees that
Yep.
they fought, because man, they know how it is, dude. Man, like
Yeah. No, I agree.
yeah, like man, if I was like, yo, I don't have no degree in, like, judging, or I don't have no degree
Yep.
in freaking whatever, but man, I could judge a fight, man, because, dude, this is what I do, Hell, I think I would have done a way better job if that was my job and I got to watch, and I had the freaking best seats in the house. You know what I mean? Like, right there, dude. I would do an excellent job.
I definitely agree. And outside of the
Yeah.
octagon, mate, you have an interest in photography and stuff. Tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what brought that there, and how does that work into your lifestyle?
Yeah, so huge hobby. I'm very passionate about photography and videography, and if anything, like telling my story, And when I first started out, I needed to figure out a way to make money, but at the same time not lock myself
Yep.
into a 9 to 5 job. And I was able to do that with photography and videography. I was able to build my pages and at least have something tangible for sponsors to be like, hey, okay, maybe you can shoot a commercial for us, and then also to, hey, here's an extra for endorsing the commercial through with
Yep.
all your followers, or just different stuff like that, and it all started because when I first fought, I wanted a sick highlight reel, I wanted to make a sick highlight reel. I had three finishes in the local shows, and I was like, dude, Movie Maker just came out. Let me dabble on this, because I don't have money to pay no one to freaking do that. I was in high school, so I got into the high school like editing computers, and I was like, I put something together, slashed it all up, threw in some music, and I was like, dang, dude, this is fun. And then it was kind of like, hey, Frank, can you do my highlight reel? Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And then, it just kind of just all fell through, And then I needed to create, I wanted to create my own fight shirts. So that's how I dabbled into Adobe Photoshop. It was like Adobe CS when it first came out, Adobe Photoshop CS when it first came out. And yeah, I just got into that and never knew that it would, something that I continue to do right
Awesome,
now,
man. And it's a good creative counterbalance of what you do, right? Like, it's very sort of different and presents like a different framework.
Yeah, and I feel they work hand in hand too together,
There's a
even though
synergy,
they're so different,
absolutely.
There's a synergy. So like now I can vlog, and now I can really get my message out there during fight week, you know what I mean? Or a really good friend of mine, Brandon Vera, I would go with him to his title fights, and I would vlog for him and just kind of like document for him, take photos for him, man, fun stuff. I love doing this
So do you
stuff.
follow the one championship a lot as well?
I follow them. Dude, honestly, there's a lot of crazy names because of where they're at in Asia, and then all these different Thai guys that fight. I'm like, shit, I can't even freaking read. I can't even pronounce that name,
No.
But I do follow, and they're changing the game, man. Even the way they're judging, their scoring system is different. Their whole weigh-ins are different. It's so interesting, and then also too their whole marketing and their presentation of their product is really different.
Yeah,
I totally dig it.
Nice.
I totally dig it.
I mean, obviously, never say never, but is that an organization that potentially down the track after this UFC adventure is that you'd like to taste, or not really at that headspace yet?
Man, for sure. I mean, if anything, I really, man, the UFC is the mecca right now. If you want to play basketball, you want to play in the NBA. You know what I mean? You want to fight in mixed martial arts, or you fighting in the UFC. But you see what one is doing, and I wouldn't mind attaching my name to something, to the stuff that they're doing. Bringing back honor to martial arts, and I mean, at least from what you see from the outside, right? And then their shows are badass, dude. If you go to the shows, dude, it's like half of the arena, or sorry, 1/4 of the arena is cut off because that 1/4 is a stage, bro. Fireworks, lights, you know what I mean?
Well,
it's
they did this
dope, dude.
similarly back in the Pride days, right? But their production value and how they see things are very sort of different. And they do it on Friday night, so it's like a party, right? It's very different on the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a show. So you go there and you enjoy the show,
which is what it should be. Well, mate, look, it's been amazing to chat to you. Thanks so much again for taking your time. I'm gonna leave it on a really casual note. Frank, tell me, top 3 tracks on your playlist. What are you hearing right now?
Ooh, so Of course,
Yep.
Eye of the Tiger. Oh shoot! Hello. Okay.
Yep.
And man, that's always the first one. Like right before I
Yep.
start a workout, and then it kind of just really varies, dude. Shoot! Like I don't even know what the second and third are. Like I'll just throw on some Island
Yep.
Jams or yeah.
Cool, man. Again, Frank, it's been a pleasure having you. Really appreciate it, and look forward to your next fight. And I think that island spirit is always there. So wherever you go, mate, that'll always go with you, and I think that'll take you far.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, just gotta continue doing what we're doing. Represent the islands and represent myself the best that I can, and being the nice guy, but wrecking shop in the cage.
100%. Cheers. Thanks, Frank.
Shoot, brother Kev.